government is negotiating with Facebook to resume its operations in Uganda. We have the report in our bulletin today. Welcome to TV Africa News. Hope you had a beautiful day. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahaba Kajura, but first are the headlines. The Democratic Republic of Congo authorities accused Ugandans at River Ishasha for diverting boundary. Government is negotiating with Facebook to resume its operations in Uganda. Sudan pardons powerful Janjaweed militia chief. Africa banks on billionaire Motsepe to cure sick calf. World government is negotiating with Facebook to resume its operations in Uganda. We have the report in our bulletin today. Welcome to TV Africa News. Hope you had a beautiful day. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahaba Kajura, but first are the headlines. During the general elections, the government suspended Facebook and switched off the internet following the misconduct of some users, hence threatening the security. However, the head Legal Affairs in Uganda Communications Commission, Mr. Abdul Salam, has said that government is in negotiations with Facebook company on how they can resume its operations in Uganda in regards to the suspension.
As you know, unlike certain rights like freedom of expression, where you can just sit in a bar or in your house and you speak without paying for anything, most of the legal rights involve paying for that service, because there is somebody making it possible for you to communicate. And that's why UCC again comes up with measures to ensure that the cost of the internet is low. The cost of people using telecommunication services is lower. Yes, we may not have attained the level of pricing that maybe everybody would desire, but those of you who are old enough to remember, the cost of, for example, making a call has significantly reduced from in the beginning it was about 800 shillings per minute. Now it is as low as 120 shillings. We also have the per second billing, where you only pay for the time you've used. All these are not happening by mistake. It's because UCC, on behalf of government, is deliberately working towards enhancing the enjoyment of these rights.
The report was launched by Honorable Vincent Bajiri, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of ICT and National Guidance at Hotel Africana, showing that the internet usage has grown with over 10 million users, providing a new digital landscape that facilitates the work of human rights defenders, activists, journalists, minority groups, providing grounds for safer interactions.
I think as we create awareness about these rights, it's very critical that we create a balance by also talking about the obligation. Because for many people who talk about the rights, we forget to talk about the obligations, which are very critical for an orderly society. Thank you.
According to Dorothy Mukasa, the Executive Director of Unwanted Witness Uganda, the rationale for the research was to explore the loopholes within the national legal and policy framework. The Democratic Republic of Congo authorities have said that Ugandans living along River Ishasha at the border have diverted a chunk of their territory, about 7 kilometers, which they want returned. Our reporter has more.
The claim was raised during a meeting between officials from both countries in Ishasha town in eastern Congo to agree on a joint cross-border patrol on Lake Edward and Choga. Both parties held a meeting and reached a deal on Lake Edward following an earlier agreement last week on Lake George. Officials from both sides agreed to conduct joint patrols on Lake Edward from March 11th to March 23rd. The operations in Uganda will run from Kayanja in Kasese district to Rubirizi district and in Congo from Lake Albert Port of Kasindi. The UPDF Fisheries Protection Unit will lead the Ugandan team during the patrols, while the Ministry of Agriculture will offer technical support. Both sides also agreed on illegal fishers found in each other's territory's water that shall be handled in accordance with the agreed standard operating procedures, including being handed over to the authorities. Katende Chawasinga reporting.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Let's go for a quick break. We shall come back with more. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. Now, in our international news today, Sudan has pardoned and released powerful Janjaweed militia chief Musa Hilal, a UN-sanctioned leader accused by rights groups of atrocities in Darfur, along with his aide Ismail Agbash. We have more.
The release of Hilal and other members of his forces comes as Sudanese transitional government pushes for peace efforts in the war-ravaged western region following an October peace accord with rebel groups aimed to end decades of conflicts. Hilal's Awakening Revolutionary Council Force confirmed their leader's release along with other members on Thursday, saying the case against them was cancelled following a pardon by the authorities. Hilal was formerly close to ousted President Omar al-Bashir, who supported the Arab Janjaweed forces against the marginalized ethnic African minorities when war erupted in Darfur in 2003. Hilal, 60, was arrested in 2017 after clashes between his troops and the government's powerful paramilitary rapid support forces. TV Africa News, Kachancho Mutabazi reporting.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Now, Libya's parliament on Wednesday approved a unity government to lead the war-ravaged North African nation to December elections, held as historic steps towards ending decade of chaos by many players. Our reporter has more. The interim Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Deiba said in a brief but emotional speech after the vote that Libya is one and united, adding that it will be a government of all Libyans. The United Nations mission praised leaders for the patriotic efforts that led to this landmark moment in the history of Libya. The interim government must now tackle the many grievances of Libyans, from a dire economic crisis and soaring unemployment to crippling inflation and wretched public services. Fayez al-Sarraj, outgoing head of GNA, said he was fully ready to hand over power, while influential Parliament Speaker Aguila Saleh said it is a historical day. The government's endorsement was welcomed by the United States and the European Union, which also both called the vote historic, as well as neighboring Egypt and Tunisia, plus Britain, France, and Italy. The U.S. ambassador to Libya, Richard Nolan, said it set the stage for elections and offered his congratulations. Former colonial ruler Italy said it was an important and encouraging result for Libya's normalization process. Thank you so much, our reporter. Now, Ivory Coast woke up on Thursday to the shocking news of the death of the Prime Minister Ahmed Bakayoko. The close ally of President Alassane Ouattara died of cancer on Wednesday, just 2 days after his 56th birthday. Our reporter looked at the legacy Bakayoko left behind.
Ahmed Bakayoko was a role model for the youth who abandoned medical school and instead focused his attention on media. He launched Le Patriote newspaper in the early 1990s, and in 1993 he became the head of the Ivory Coast subsidiary of French radio Nostalgie, which gave him access to the showbiz and political worlds. He then entered politics in 2003 when he was appointed Minister of Telecommunications and New Technologies. He held the position until the disputed 2010 elections that unleashed a short-lived civil war after former President Laurent Gbagbo refused to accept the results. A year later, President Ouattara then appointed Bakayoko as Interior Minister. His abilities to claim tensions led to his appointment as Defense Minister in 2017. He kept the role when he was appointed Prime Minister in July 2020 after the sudden death of his predecessor Amadou Gon Coulibaly. Bakayoko was a key player in Ivorian politics and was even seen as possible successor to President Alassane Ouattara. People in Ivory Coast are down because they have lost a relative, a man and a brother, but he will forever be remembered. May his soul rest in eternal peace. TV Africa News, Kachancho Mutabazi reporting.
Well, let's go for a quick break. We shall come back with our business news. Welcome back from the break. Now, in our business news today, several political leaders and government officials from the mining town of Kafumfo in Angolan province of Lunda Norte met to discuss the way forward over mining grievances by the locals that led to clashes with the police. We have more.
The meeting follows recent clashes between the locals and police in the Angolan town of Kafumfo that led to the death of 6 people, came under scrutiny on Tuesday and Wednesday. Ernesto Mwangala, governor of Lunda Norte, told the leaders present at the meeting that Angola's wealth serves to satisfy the financial needs of the state and other public entities, ensure the realization of the state's economic and social policy, and proceed to a fair distribution of income and national wealth. The region's local officials said that diamond mining has been at the center stage of the destruction of their villages and has further led to the diversion of rivers without any respect for the environment and the consent from the locals. About 8 million carats of diamonds are extracted annually in Kafumfo, making Angola one of the largest diamond exporters in the world. TV Africa News, Kachanju Mtavazi reporting.
Well, away from business. Now, talking about iHealth News today, the director of Africa's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. John Kengasong, has said that Africa will need a continental capacity to provide COVID-19 vaccines for more than 1.3 billion people.
Dr. Johnny Kasongo, Director of African Centers for Diseases Control and Prevention, say that it is so important for us as a continent to have the capacity because we truly don't know what these vaccines would do in terms of the longevity of humanity. Dr. Kengasong mentioned 5 countries that have a capacity to provide vaccines, including South Africa, Senegal, Tunisia, Morocco, and Egypt. He said in the meeting is planned for April 12th between the African Union and outside partners to create a roadmap to boost African capacity to produce vaccines. At least 22 of Africa's 54 countries have received COVID-19 vaccine through COVAX program. The continent has set a target of vaccinating at least 60% of its people. Katende Chawasinga reporting.
Thank you so much, our reporter Nalugu. Now, in our sports news today, South Africa billionaire Patrice Motsepe is set to become a Confederation of African Football president in Rabat on Friday and face the greatest challenge of a career with business successes. Let's have more.
Vastly experienced Ivorian football administrator Jacques Anoma, who will advise Motsepe, has described the Cairo-based football body as sick. South African newspaper The Daily Maverick called CAF a cesspool of corruption and self-interest, a dysfunctional organization barely emerging from decades of antediluvian thinking. Motsepe succeeds disgraced Malagasy Ahmed, who is serving a 2-year FIFA ban over governance issues and will require his vast array of business skills to fix the organization. A plan brokered by the Federation for International Football Association puts Motsepe in charge with Senegalese Augustin Senghor and Mauritanian Ahmed Yahya becoming vice presidents and Anuma a special advisor. Motsepe will be the first South African to lead CAF, following in the steps of 2 Egyptians, a Sudanese, an Ethiopian, a Cameroonian, and Malagasy. Kachanchu Mtabazi, TV Africa Today.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter Katende. Now, before we end our bulletin, let's take a look at the top stories. The Democratic Republic of Congo authorities accused Ugandans at River Ishasha for diverting boundary. Government is negotiating with Facebook to resume its operations in Uganda. Sudan pardons powerful Janjaweed militia chief. Africa banks on billionaire Mods P to cure sick calf. Thank you so much for watching with us from where we started. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is still TV Africa, the right to know.
This is Africa, and that was the news.